2 seconds to go.
It's time for Warriors Wrap-Up. We'll bring you into the locker room and hear from Coach Kerr and the players. Highlights from the game. Warriors Wrap-Up starts now.
All right, buckle up. This is Warriors Wrap-Up presented by Xfinity. My name is Evan Giddings with you here on 95.7 The Game. The Golden State Warriors fall to 10-13 after they lose in absolutely just god-awful fashion down in the desert at the Footprint Center. 119-116 Phoenix Suns. I know the game was close. It was because of a late Warriors run, 16-6 run down the stretch of that basketball game. But look, I would love to sit up here and talk about how amazing the second unit was. They outscored the Warriors starters 80-36. I would love to sit here and talk about how the Golden State Warriors have found something with their young players, with Jonathan Kuminga, who I thought was great tonight, Moses Moody, who I thought stepped up, and Brennan Pochemski, who continues to look like a revelation and a guy that I want to play Golden State Warriors basketball for a very, very long time. But it is impossible to sit up here and not talk about the elephant in the room that continues to be, and his name is Draymond Green. For the third time in 15 games in which he's played, 5 of which he has been suspended from of now the 23 games. 2 in which he has been out due to an ankle injury, and 1 in which he has been out due to personal reasons. Draymond Green has now effectively played a little less than half of Warriors basketball this season. And once again, he gets ejected tonight against the Phoenix Suns. I mean, this guy, 8:23 left in the third quarter. Apparently, Draymond Green does not like Jusuf Nurkic tugging at his jersey. Might have been a foul, might not have been. But Draymond swings his arm backwards, full well knowing where Jusuf Nurkic is, and sends a spinning fist into the face of Jusuf Nurkic. And anyone that was watching that game, I saw people tweeting about it. I saw people commenting. Everyone knew that was about to be an immediate flagrant 2. At the time, the Golden State Warriors were up by 5 points. Rest of the way, they got outscored by 8. It got at one point up to an 18-point Phoenix advantage from the 8:23 mark and beyond after Draymond Green was ejected for the third time this season. And it just feels like, and 888-957-9570 is the number. Also the number for the Xfinity mobile text line. I already see people chiming in. Appreciate you joining us here on YouTube for Warriors Wrap-Up. My name is Evan Giddings. And again, it is difficult to start anywhere in this basketball game than Draymond Green. Because for all the wrong reasons, he continues to shine the limelight on himself in a season that is getting out of hand for the Warriors. They're 3 games below 500. There's 59 games left in the season. And we got questions about the starting lineup. We got questions about everyone there except for Stephen Curry. We got to wonder if changes need to be made. We got to wonder if the Warriors can ever get a win on the road again. They've now dropped 6 in a row. And we have to wonder if Draymond Green is a guy you can trust at all anymore. And this is where the frustration comes from. The Warriors are now 2-6 in games in which Draymond was either ejected or suspended this season, tonight being one of them. And that's part of it. That's a major part of it. And you can hear it on the Warriors coming out of their voices. We're going to hear from Steve Kerr in just a little bit. We're going to hear from people in that locker room. But here's where I'm at with Draymond Green. Even though he was suspended for a chokehold of Rudy Gobert, and understandably so, was given 5 games, the league is going to review what he did tonight to Yusuf Nurkic, and I expect him to be suspended again. And this is where I'm at. Whatever happens, happens. If they throw the book at him, if they give him 5 or more games, I completely understand. If they give him less, well, I guess you call that a win for Draymond at this point, because right now, this guy is not helping you more than he is hurting you this season. That might change over the rest of the 59, but for right now, we got to call it like it is. Draymond Green has hurt this basketball team, and he got himself ejected again tonight. And the biggest issue is right now in a season with so many questions. Klay Thompson, terrible again tonight. Andrew Wiggins, a ghost again tonight. Kevon Looney didn't play in the entire second half. Steve Kerr's got questions about who needs to play, who doesn't, who deserves time. The Golden State Warriors bench outscored their starters 80-36 tonight. That's unbelievable. The bench should have been starting. And with all of that going on, they lost by 3 points in a game in which Draymond left and they were outscored by 8. That is what infuriates me about this guy and this night, is that I believe the Warriors win that basketball game with Draymond Green in it, without him getting ejected. And Steve Kerr continues to say it because he's got no choice, because the guy's got 3 years left on his deal, because they gave him 4 for $100 this offseason. They have nowhere to go with Draymond Green. He's got them by the you-know-what. And he continues to do whatever he wants, whenever he wants, at the expense of a Warriors basketball team in a very fragile place in their season. This is a guy 10 days ago, after a 22-point blown lead to the Los Angeles Clippers in L.A., saying, we got to figure out how to win. Each team needs to know how to win. Well, you want to know how you can win games? By being available, by being on the court, by not getting thrown out of basketball games. Literally. This has happened 3 times in the 15 games in which he's played this year. And why should I believe it's going to get any better at this point? Because he'll come out and tell us he's sorry? And that's one thing that at least I saw tonight from Draymond Green, in which I have not seen to this point and really up to this point throughout his career. Draymond walked off, actually he jogged off the court, I'll give him that. There was some effort there. He jogged off of the court knowing damn well he was about to get ejected from that game, and knowing exactly why. Because he knew, and maybe this is when the light comes on, I don't know, but he knew that he was in the wrong. And for maybe the first time ever, I saw it on his face. For the first time ever, I saw a Draymond Green that looked like he knew what he did and he was going to deserve what he got and what he is going to probably get, which is another suspension and another opportunity for the Warriors to be hurt by his absence. When he's on the court, I understand he didn't play well tonight. 4 of the 5 starters didn't play well. But the Warriors are a better basketball team with him engaged than with him not on the floor at all. And that's what pissed me off about tonight. Draymond Green essentially costed them the game. Now, you could boil it down to that. There were a lot of other things that went wrong from the starters, but Draymond could have helped them win that game, and he was unavailable to do so. The game completely flipped on its head the moment he decided to throw a spinning back fist at Nurkic's face. And I'm not a Nurkic fan by any means. I got to cover him in Portland, my first job working around NBA players. I'm not a fan of Yusuf Nurkic at all, but he didn't deserve that. And Draymond Green is going to deserve whatever he gets at this point because it was unbelievable. I mean, I'm sitting here in the studio watching with a few of my coworkers. Sterling Bennett, who does a fantastic job, as always, Warriors Network coordinator. Chris O'Connell is sitting here cutting sound, and everyone is just in disbelief at what this guy continues to do and what he's going to continue to get away with. I'm with you, 510. He didn't learn his lesson punching pool or getting suspended in the finals. What makes you think this is the one? I don't know. I don't think this is the one. But again, this is the only time I've at least seen some sort of sorrow on his face or some sort of owning of the moment. I mean, Draymond Green right now should be in a dark place, literally and figuratively, because I don't know. I hope for the first time he finally looks in a mirror and says, dude, you got to figure it out, man. I mean, this is ridiculous. Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors right now are 10-13, and they're probably not going to have what I believe when he's been on the court, their second best basketball player, which is another indictment of the state of Golden State basketball right now for the foreseeable future. And whatever he gets suspension-wise, I will completely understand. 888-957-9570 is the number. Also the number for the Comcast Business Text line. My name is Evan Giddings. This is Warriors Wrap-Up, and we're wrapping up a 119-116 defeat for Golden State. It is their sixth consecutive loss on the road. They are now 3 games below 500. They are 4-11 in their last 15 games. And look, Draymond Green is not the only reason they lost this basketball game, but you can boil it down to that. And it's such a microcosm for what's been going on this season, which is a tug of war between the young and the old. And tonight, for the first time, well, not for the first time, but I would venture to guess in a complete tidal wave type fashion, I tweeted it out around halftime. This Golden State season is a tale of two units. And tonight, the second unit completely outplayed the starting unit. I'm even going to throw Stephen Curry in there. Now, I'm pissed off, and so I know Steph was the only reason that they were, maybe in that game to begin with. And Steph has been fantastic this year. But even Curry, he was 3 of 15 in the second half, 1 of 8 in the fourth quarter. Meanwhile, Devin Booker's going 4 for 6 with 10 points in the fourth quarter, closing out this game for the Suns. Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, where are you at? A combined 3 for 17. Again, the bench was a plus 44 to the starting lineup. I don't think I've ever seen a box score like that in my life. You just look up and down at the minuses and the pluses, and it's been the same thing since Steve Kerr has had the gall, according to some, to put these young guys in and give them extended run. Draymond Green in 17 minutes, minus 15. Kevon Looney, 11 minutes, minus 13. Andrew Wiggins in 15 minutes, minus 19. I mean, you just look at the bench. Sharge, plus 21. Kuminga, plus 13. Pajemski, plus 18. Paul, plus 12. I mean, Trace Jackson-Davis was even getting run, for God's sakes. That's how many answers Steve Kerr does not have right now. He is running out of them. And right now, the Warriors are running out of answers as to where their season's going to go. I got people texting me saying, do you make a move? What do you do? How do you get through this? How do you get past this? How do you overcome this? There are so many questions right now with the Warriors that they have to answer. And I think the biggest one right now is number 23. Not because of what he does on the court as far as basketball is concerned, but because of how much his on-the-court decisions affect how much he is off the court. And this isn't going anywhere again. Draymond Green has 3 more years left. He signed a 4 for $100 million deal. This guy wants to retire a Golden State Warrior. And I just wonder where fans are at with that. 888-957-9570 is the number. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. Evan Giddings with you. Let's get out to Santa Rosa where Zach wants to talk about the game. Zach, what's going on, man? What'd you make of that loss tonight? How you doing?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. I got a couple things to say real fast. First, Draymond, you've covered it. I always defend Draymond. Don't really know how to defend him after this game. He's just a clown out there. He's just goofing around, and it's hurting the team, but he's not out there now every night, it seems like. Klay is just a brick pretty much almost every night. Wiggins is, I don't know what happened to Wiggins. He's just horrendous. His offense is just gone. Kerr has no idea how to close a game, and he never gets creative. Every time we have a game come down to the final possession, I would put every dime that I own that we're going to lose because Kerr never knows how to draw up a play for Steph. It's always just give it to Steph to hook up a three. Never works. Kuminga and Moody are finally getting minutes. They're bright spots, honestly. I'm loving both of those guys. After all these years, Kerr's hated them, and he's finally giving them minutes, which is good. But overall, it's just a circus out here, man. It is a total circus, dude. It's bad.
I'm with you, Zach. And look, I haven't been the largest fan of some of the decisions that Steve Kerr has made throughout the season. And you could definitely go down the list. But if I'm going down the list of things that were wrong and that cost the Warriors this game, Steve Kerr is nowhere near the top. You look at, again, the only way a bench outscores the starting lineup by 44 points is if they play. Jonathan Kuminga got 29 minutes tonight. Podziemski got 29 minutes tonight. Moody, 24. Chris Paul, 30. Saric, 20. All of those are more than Green, Looney, and Wiggins. Now, Green by his own hand. But again, I thought Steve Kerr did all he could tonight. I don't. If someone else has a suggestion for me, you are more than welcome to call into Warriors Rapid, but 888-957-9570. And please chime in on the Comcast Business text line from the 510. Sit Draymond, Klay, and Wiggins for Pods, Moody, and Saric for a month, and maybe they will get the message. I don't think that's a message that's going to get through. And I do think if we're talking about games in which you can look at and say that this is a breaking point for Steve Kerr's all-in to the vets type of mentality, this might be it. This might be the one in which you finally see some starting lineup changes that were hinted at last week. And the reason is because, again, he showed you. Look at who closed that game. Last week, Steve Kerr said on these very airways with Willard and Dibbs on 95.7 The Game that he was considering changes, considering rotation movement after the game against before the game against Portland, before the game in which Jonathan Kuminga ended up finishing the final 13 and a half minutes of that game. Kerr talked about the closing lineup and how essentially there's one spot open. And it sounded like it was Wiggins, make of that what you will, but it sounded like there was one spot open. I saw 4 spots open tonight. Anybody not named Stephen Curry, grab a jersey. We're having tryouts. That's what I saw tonight in Phoenix at the Footprint Center. The Warriors found themselves in a position in which they didn't wave the white flag. They simply said, we don't have anybody else who we think can get this done. I saw Podziemski on the floor. I saw Kuminga on the floor. I saw Moody on the floor. Chris Paul. Those are all bench players. Paul's been a starter for the majority of his career, but you get my point. All of those guys were alongside Stephen Curry basically trying to will this team back into a game, and they damn near did it. They damn near came back in this game. That was an unbelievable ending to an unbelievable game that got away from them midway through the third quarter because Draymond Green decided to go to get himself tossed out. He got run, and understandably so. There was not a soul in that arena on either bench in either organization that felt like he did not deserve that ejection. There have been some situations throughout Draymond's career. And again, I am eternally grateful for what Draymond Green has done for the Golden State Warriors. He has been a pivotal piece of 4 championships. This guy is probably a first ballot Hall of Famer. If not, he'll be in one day. He's going to be sitting there alongside Curry and Klay. They're going to have their gold jackets, and they're going to have every single bragging right in the book that they deserve because of what they've done for this franchise, taking them from an abyss to now a dynasty. That said, this season, Draymond Green has cost the Warriors more than he has helped them. And unless this game is one in which he turns things around, I will continue to say that. because unless he proves me wrong, and I hope that he does, because that likely means the Warriors will be more successful than they've been through 23 games in which they're 10-13. Until that happens, I cannot consider him a net positive. Tonight, he was a net negative, and he was a massive reason why they lost a winnable game against a Phoenix team missing Kevin Durant, Grayson Allen, Nasir Little, and another rotation player's name escapes me. Oh, pardon me, Damian Lee, former Warrior. They're missing 3 rotation players and a borderline MVP candidate. I mean, that's going a little bit too far, but you get my point. Kevin Durant did not play tonight. Grayson Allen, who started a ton of games for Phoenix this season, did not play tonight. And the Warriors had a chance to win that game, and they could not do it. The starters were not good at the start of that game. The bench grew a lead to 14 points, another double-digit blown lead for the Warriors. That is now 6th this season in which they have had opponents come from behind by 10 or more, and they end up losing by 3 from the final 20 minutes of that game, roughly, in which Draymond was ejected. Phoenix outscored Golden State by 8. That's the difference. And in a game in which the Warriors could have won, and in which in which the margin of error is as minimal as it's ever been during the Big Three era, including the Steve Kerr era, that cannot happen. And that's how I feel about it. 888-957-9570 is the number. Let's get out to Pleasant Hill. Peter's been waiting on. What's up, Pete? How we doing? How you feeling about that loss?
Man, I was angry. Now I'm sad. I'm going through all the stages of mourning right now. And I can't even, I mean, we get on, we talk about every night about how what's wrong with the Warriors, and nobody can seem to find an answer. I don't know what's going on in that locker room, but, you know, one thing I haven't heard talked about that much, and I'm wondering what you think about this, is the leadership on the team. You know, Draymond's always been that vocal leader on the team. I don't think anyone's going to listen to him at this point in the season. If I'm on that team, I'm definitely not. He's going to prove himself again, and that's going to take more than this year probably. And I just don't know who else could step up. Steph's always kind of been that quiet guy. Klay, not sure about that. I mean, one guy that I think might be able to rally this team is Chris Paul. And I'm hoping that, you know, maybe he hasn't been that vocal on the court. I don't know if he just thinks it's not his place to be that guy on this team, but it needs to come from somewhere. And I'm wondering if you think that maybe Chris Paul is the answer for that.
I think it's a great call, Pete. I'm with you. And I also think if it's to the point where a 38-year-old that, again, is a bench player, and this is his first year in Golden State, has a louder, more important, more pivotal, more heavy-weighted voice than a guy who's been here for 12 years and is responsible in part for hoisting 4 banners, then you got an issue. I mean, that's just the way it is. I'm with you. I think Chris Paul's voice is more important than Draymond Green's right now. And I think that started last year. I don't think that Draymond Green has gotten his voice back in that locker room. And if he has, he lost it very quickly throughout this season because, again, he has not been available enough for his voice to mean something. Draymond is the guy talking about 10 days ago that this team needs to learn how to win. Well, I hate to break it to you, Draymond. You are a massive reason, a massive way that the Warriors can learn how to win, if that's what it takes. And if I'm hearing a quote-unquote leader saying that this team has not yet figured out how to win, and he's not helping to provide a solution for that problem, then yeah, I'd say we got an issue. 888-957-9570 is the number. Also the Comcast Business text line, 510. Draymond attacked the Warriors, saying they messed up suspending him for the scuffle with KD. I think the Warriors need to double down and suspend him again. Well, you can't do that either. You know why? Because he's never done it. When has Draymond Green ever been suspended by the Warriors? He wasn't suspended when he went after Steve Kerr behind closed doors in 2015. He wasn't suspended by the Warriors when he got into it with Kevin Durant in 2018. He wasn't suspended when he punched a teammate before the season, before 2022. What makes you think that Draymond Green is going to be suspended by the Warriors now? No, I think he'll be suspended by the NBA. I think that's coming down. And whether it's 5 games, whether it's 10, whether it's more, again, I'm at a point where I really don't care. And I was texting a friend before this. If I could do a show, if it was possible to do a show without mentioning Draymond, I would try to do it. But it's impossible because of the way that he continues to force himself in a negative fashion into basketball games in recent memory. And that hurts. Draymond Green was the first jersey I ever bought. And I don't know what to think about that right now. Mike's out in San Francisco. What's going on, Mike? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings. What do you got?
Well, hi. First of all, thanks for taking the call. A couple of things. I think tonight was the first night I really felt as a 10-plus year season ticket holder that they're losing the fan base. I mean, I am such a loyal Warriors fan, but I've kind of had it. And I also think that Steve Kerr, he's part of the problem because it's almost as if he's an enabler with Draymond. There are no ramifications for his behavior, and it's just gotten out of control. I mean, it is a liability to the team at this point.
Thanks, Mike. No, look, I don't know if throughout the rest of the 2023-24 season, Draymond Green by the end of the year will be a liability to the Warriors, but there is no defending the fact that he has been a liability to them right now. And again, that's what makes it so frustrating, is that I do believe Draymond can still help affect winning basketball, but he's not available, or I should say, he makes himself unavailable to do so. He's been suspended for 5 games of the 23. He has been ejected from 3 of the 15 in which he has played. He has missed now 3 due to either an injury or personal reasons. That, to me, does not equate to winning basketball. And the Warriors are 2-6 now in the 8 games in which he has made himself unavailable. That is hurting your team. The Warriors right now would be above 500 if they had that flipped. The Warriors would be in a position to where we'd be focusing on some of the other more important things, like how great these young players have played, about how emerging. And finally, in year 3, it looks like Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga have been ready to make that kind of leap. It looks like Brandon Podziemski is going to be a player and a guy that can help the Warriors win. But because of what Draymond Green continues to do, we don't get to focus on that. Now, no, he's not the only problem. Klay Thompson was, again, not very good tonight. Andrew Wiggins was not very good tonight. But those guys don't compound their mistakes by getting themselves tossed out of games. Those guys, at the very least, are able to keep their head and do not hurt the team even further. Klay Thompson's struggling right now. Andrew Wiggins is a ghost. But at least I can count on those guys to be on the floor night in and night out. I don't know what Draymond's going to do. And again, it's because the Warriors were in a position to win that basketball game, like they have been in a position now 19 times. This was the 19th game in which they have played in a quote-unquote clutch game. Games decided by 5 points in the final 5 minutes. They are now 9-10 in such games. I believe Draymond Green can impact those clutch situations. I believe there are players on this team that can positively impact the final 5 minutes and help the Warriors close out games. And we've seen a glimpse now of them being able to help down the stretch of games in which they are down or ahead. And it's frustrating for me to sit up here on Warriors Wrap-Up and have to focus on what this guy has taken away from this team right now, as opposed to what he's given it and what he's given the Warriors throughout his 12 years, which is a big part of 4 championships. And this year, he has not played like that, and he has not done that. Draymond Green has not been the leader that the Warriors need him to be, and that is a major issue. D's out in D.C. Let's talk about the Warriors and, excuse me, shocker, number 23. What's up, D? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings. How are you?
Evan, what's going on with you, man?
Oh, help me.
Bro, I'm so pissed I don't even know where to go. Since you're already going in and on Dre, I'm gonna let you handle Dre. But There's something that I noticed about this team tonight that really threw me off. I have never seen Klay Thompson lose his cool, or better yet, his emotion, or better yet, his desire to play the game like he's done tonight. I don't know if you noticed this in the last, before he got pulled off the court. Steph even jumped on him because apparently dude was just sleepwalking on the court. That is something that everybody needs to pay attention to. Klay, I don't know if it's a contract that's affecting him, but there is something totally definitely hurting Klay's mind right now, and that needs to be pointed out. I know you said you don't want to blame Kerr for what's going on, but I'm telling you right now, Kerr has a lot to do with it as well. Because you cannot tell me since the beginning of the season, both Klay and Wiggins have been struggling. And then let's add Looney to that. You have 3 strugglers in the starting lineup, and you don't even want to make a change? Come on, man. Something's definitely wrong with that. You know what I mean? At least pull 2 players off the court that are struggling and replace them with 2 players who can at least give you a little something. And Kerr is really he is the main reason why the entire team is suffering.
Interesting. Look, D, I hear you. And I honestly think, to your point, that there are going to be some lineup changes coming or some major rotation changes coming because I think they have to. And your points are completely fair about Klay, about Wiggins, even about Kerr. And I meant more so, I don't believe tonight was his fault, especially the way that we've seen the rest of the season play out. You could come down Kerr's road a lot, but tonight, I don't know if I can do it. Let's hear from the man himself, because Draymond Green spoke to the media after he was ejected at the 8:53 mark of the third quarter. Let's hear from Draymond Green.
He was pulling my hip, and I was swinging away to sell the call, made contact with him. As you know, I'm not one to apologize for things I meant to do, but I do apologize to you, sir, because I didn't intend to hit him. I sell calls with my arms. I don't fall to sell a call. I don't not flop it. So I was just selling the call because he was grabbing me and pulling my hip. So I spun away, and unfortunately, I hit him. So like I said, I apologize to you, sir, because I didn't intend to.
Is that the first apology we've ever heard from Draymond Green? I mean, it was a little half-hearted, but I guess that's a W. I don't know. I mean, look, you heard from Draymond after he swung and hit Yusuf Nurkic in the head. He was ejected from the Phoenix Suns game tonight, in which the Warriors lose 119-116. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. I want to take a break, come back, and then, of course, discuss what we need to about Draymond, but also what else happened in this basketball game, because I thought there were a lot of things that you can get into, and I thought D, our previous caller, did a nice job to hopefully segue us into that. Obviously, everything is going to be about Draymond's decision, and everything is going to be about the 6th consecutive road loss for the Warriors, who right now are in big turmoil, who do not know where to go, who have a lot of questions to answer. But one thing they can rest themselves on, I believe, is our hardest worker of the game, which is Brandon Podziemski. I thought he was fantastic tonight. 18 points, 11 rebounds to lead all Golden State Warriors, 5 of them offensive. We saw this dude grab an offensive board off a free throw in the second half. Podziemski has been showing up and showing out, and he is the hardest worker of the game, brought to you by the Alameda County Sheriff's Office, who works hard to serve the community. If you're looking for a career in law enforcement, learn more about job opportunities at joinacso.com. 888-957-9570. Oh, boy. 888-957-0970. is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap-Up. Please also text in again. 888-957-9570 is the number. We'll be taking your calls on the other side, also reading your text messages on the Comcast Business text line. I see out there on YouTube. We'll read your comments as well as we continue on and try and figure this thing out together, because the Warriors got some questions. Might have an answer or two on the other side. Stick around for that. Evan Giddings on you on 95.7 The Game. This is Warriors Wrap-Up. We're back after this.
Hey, did you know the Statue of Liberty is the largest holiday gift ever given? That's a big deal, just like those at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Hey, did you know when the year ends, so do the deals? It's your journey. Own every mile at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get 0% APR for 60 months, plus 0 payments for 90 days, or $2,500 bonus cash on the Hyundai Tucson. Now, during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Offer ends January 2nd. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Save big every day during Lowe's 25 Days of Deals. Save $100 on select Masterbuilt smokers.
and he hammered it in over Bull. And a timeout for the Suns. Jonathan Kuminga went backdoor on Bull, and Chris Paul led him perfectly to the rim. A little elevation sensation. 40-27, Warriors lead by 13.
Now back to Warriors Wrap-Up on 95.7 The Game.
Tim Roy on the call there for 95.7 The Game, and the Golden State Warriors, as he is always for all 82 regular season games, right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball. They were up 13. They would lose by 3. 119-116. Golden State falls to Phoenix at Footprint Center. That is the final. Warriors have lost 6 consecutive road games. They have lost 4 of their last 15, and they are now 3 games under 500 at 10-13. And I know we came in and appreciate you, Sterling. I know on YouTube they can't hear the beat necessarily, but that was the regulators. And I'll tell you who could be regulated right now, who needs a regulator, and that is Draymond Green after getting ejected for the 3rd time in 15 games that he's played this season. Let's get out to San Francisco. I want to hear from you. 888-957-9570 is the number. Comcast Business text line. I see you out there. The 470. Dub Nation demands a 5 games or less of a suspension for Draymond, or will it be an outrage? Here's where I'm at, 470. If it's 5, if it's more, I really don't care at this point. I think that Draymond Green is going to get whatever he deserves, and it's unfortunate because I think it is also inherently going to cost the Warriors, as it did again tonight. Sal's out in San Francisco. What's up, Sal? You're on Warriors Wrap-Up with Evan Giddings. You're on 95.7 The Game. How are you, man? What's going on? What'd you think of the game?
Hey, Evan. Well, I thought the Warriors fought back. They clawed back in the game. I was listening to it at work, but I put my wrench down. And I was listening to I watched the last couple minutes, and I really thought I thought they were going to lose. I mean, it looked like they were going to lose by a long shot. But when they clawed back to 3 points, and that I'm talking about in particular that last possession. They had like 9 seconds, I believe, with the whatever play they drew up with Stephen Curry. I don't know why Curry was such in a hurry to put up that shot. I mean, he had like 6 seconds left, I think, after he threw up the shot, and it looked like he didn't have his feet set. He didn't. It looked like he wasn't comfortable. What are your thoughts about that last shot that Curry took?
Yeah, thanks, Sal. Appreciate the call, and I'm with you earlier on those points as well. I think Curry took that quick 3 because he assumed that the Phoenix Suns were going to foul. And, of course, this is another situation which Draymond Green's been involved in, fouling a 3-point shooter late in the game against OKC. That was Chet Holmgren. But I think Steph took a quick shot because he was afraid that he was going to get fouled and go to the free throw line. 2020 is always, hindsight's always 2020, but I think that in that situation, you probably take the free throws and at least play it out to maybe try and drop a better play inbounds. But again, who knows how much Steve Kerr trusted anyone else on the floor to take that shot, because he closed the game with 4 guys that weren't in the starting lineup. So, look, I think it's a great question. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, all day from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. right here on 95.7 The Game. Make sure to tune in for a Warriors Wednesday tomorrow. But in the meantime, here on Warriors Wrap-Up, with all the answers and more questions, here's the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr.
I have no comment on it.
How big a swing is it losing Draymond at that moment?
Huge swing. We kind of felt good about, having him at 5, spreading the floor. We got shooters out there. Obviously, changed the lineup around. We thought that could really get Steph some space, and Draymond could use his speed. We saw he got that layup the first play of the second half, and so I felt good about having him out there, and he lost his voice.
You turned to Pons and to Kuminga in the closing lineup over Klay and Andrew. What went into that decision?
He was playing better than those guys.
So Draymond's been ejected 3 times this season. Obviously, he's got this special. Who knows what's to come? How big a problem it's not only the unavailability tonight, but really parts of this season.
Yeah, we need him. We need Draymond, but he knows that. We talked to him, and he's got to find a way to keep his voice and be out there for his teammates.
Coach, last time he talked about Draymond not crossing the line. What can be done to stop this from continuing to happen?
We'll keep working.
When does it become more of a detriment than a positive?
Draymond's still a hell of a player. Still a really good player.
Yeah.
So we need him. If we're going to be a really good team, we need him.
You made some pretty drastic lineup changes, not even just the close, but you obviously started different in the second half. I know it was a tonight thing, but are you tilting that way more into the future?
I have no idea. I mean, honestly, we were just trying to win the game tonight, and we were struggling with some of the lineups out there, and we made the decision. I made the decision at halftime to put a different lineup out there, and felt good about it. But we obviously did not follow through and play a very good second half.
That was Steve Kerr, head coach of the Golden State Warriors, after they fall in Phoenix 119-116. They are now 3 games below 500. And I think you hear a lot of understandable frustration, not just, of course, with the ejection of Draymond, which in Steve Kerr's words swung the game, or at least brought a lot of momentum to the Phoenix sidelines, but you're hearing questions about the starting lineup. And I think that's the next logical place to go in this conversation is, do you feel like there needs to be starting lineup changes in Golden State? We saw Steve Kerr, not just, of course, to close the game, finish with 4 guys that were not in the starting lineup, but we also saw at the beginning of the third quarter, which was a very telling move from Steve Kerr, who will often just kind of revert back to the vets or will go back to his guys. We saw Jonathan Kuminga and Brandon Podziemski start the second half in place of Andrew Wiggins and Kevon Looney. Now, here's where I'm at in the immediate, if we're talking about starting lineup changes. Because, unfortunately, we're probably not going to be able to talk about Draymond Green being in that starting 5. At least that's what I'm expecting. Now, the league, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, is going to be reviewing the play that caused Draymond to receive a flagrant 2 and automatic ejection tonight. That, I believe, is going to cost him some more games. And it's probably because of the precedent that he's set, not just this season, in which he decided to chokehold Rudy Gobert, but a precedent that he has set in previous years, and that was referenced for the first time in the first round of the playoffs last year after he stepped on Domantas Sabonis. So what do you feel? Whether you feel like those were rights or wrongs, whether you've been a Draymond supporter or defender, I do believe that this is a moment in time in which we can all say that was an embarrassing moment for Draymond Green. And to my recollection, and I appreciate Sterling Bennett, our network coordinator here, pointing this out for me during the commercial break, I think that's the first time we've ever heard Draymond speak after an ejection. Certainly this year, of the 3. Now, we heard him talk after the Cleveland ejection the day later and say, I will not change who I am. I am who I am. I do not apologize to anyone. After the Rudy Gobert ejection, we kind of heard more of the same, although he did seem at least sorrowful for costing his team 5 games in which he was suspended. This is the first time we heard him talk after a game, and he directly apologized to the guy that he punched in the face in Yusuf Nurkic, even though he also had to sneak in the fact that he believed he was fouled before so. So, is this the turning point for Draymond Green? I have no evidence to believe so. But I do believe that this is a turning point for Steve Kerr and the Warriors in the sense of there has to be a change. There has to be someone that comes in the starting lineup, and I think there's someone that has to come out of the starting lineup. And here's what I would do. Stephen Curry's undoubtedly going to be your one. I still think Klay Thompson has to be in the starting lineup. For a multitude of reasons I'm up for debate for. 888-957-9570 is the number. Andrew Wiggins is the guy that I start with moving to the bench. Because Andrew Wiggins, while Klay has certainly not played very well this year, I think Andrew Wiggins right now looks lost. And he looked lost again tonight. I mean, even before Steve Kerr decided to not play him down the stretch of that game, 15 minutes, 1 of 7, 3 turnovers, time for a team high, minus 19, 1 3-point shot. Gave you a couple offensive rebounds. But Andrew Wiggins, for the majority of this year, has not... Like, I know Andrew Wiggins has been a floater throughout his career. I know he's had ups and downs. He's been inconsistent. Some have labeled him an underachiever. But this was a guy that was a big part of the Warriors' championship, and I don't think he's near that player right now. I do not think that Andrew Wiggins right now is in a position in which he is helping the Warriors more than he is hurting them in the starting lineup. And I think a move to the bench might be able to help him. I think it might be able to help the Warriors. And the reason is you got guys behind him that are going to play better than him, that have not just played better than him tonight, but have outplayed Andrew Wiggins throughout this point in the season. I'm looking at Moses Moody. I'm looking at Jonathan Kuminga. I'm looking at Brandon Podziemski. These guys in the last 2 or 3 weeks have outplayed Andrew Wiggins. And I know he's had some good games, but I believe that this is a turning point for the Warriors. And I think it has to start with the starting lineup. And that's why, in my opinion, Andrew Wiggins would be coming off of the bench, or at the very least receiving a massive minutes reduction, maybe not to the 15 like he was tonight, but he can't help the Warriors if he's a 35-minute player per game player right now. So Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, I think because Draymond is probably suspended, Kevon Looney has to be in the starting 5. And then those last 2 spots, to me, are up to Kerr. And that's where I could see Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga moving into the starting lineup. I do think Chris Paul can move into the starting lineup. I don't know if Brandon Podziemski yet is ready as a rookie to take on that role. And I also like the fact that he has excelled in unbelievable fashion in the minutes that he's been given, in the role that he's been giving in the rotation right now. And I don't necessarily know if I'd want to take him out of that yet, because I think there's still a lot of maturing that he needs to do as a guy who's in his rookie season, is only, 18 or 19 games in? He hasn't played as many as the rest of the starters because he's been up and down the G League at the beginning of the year. But right now, the starting 5 with essentially 2 spots open in my mind, and maybe that's why Andrew Wiggins doesn't come out of the starting lineup in the immediate, because Draymond Green will likely be suspended, and so there's going to be a spot open to begin with. And I would like to see that go to Moses Moody first, and then if there's a second spot, either Jonathan Kuminga or Chris Paul. Call me crazy, but I want to hear what people think about what they heard from Steve Kerr, essentially saying that the reason why Klay and Wiggins, most notably Wiggins, because Klay still played 27 minutes. He was still a +4. He still got run at the beginning of that second half when the Warriors were, at the beginning of that second quarter, in which the Warriors went on a 15-2 run. Meanwhile, Andrew Wiggins didn't see the light of day pretty much in the second half. Eddie's out in San Leandro, wants to talk about the starting lineup and what Steve Kerr might have to do with the Warriors. What's up, Eddie? You're on Warriors Wrap Up with Evan. How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. I guess, you said a lot of the stuff I agree with. I think just point blank to go through it, Andrew Wiggins, I don't know what's going on with him. Kuminga's an obvious slot in for him, or Moody. Klay Thompson makes way too many mistakes on the defensive end. He's not a good team defender. He's not shooting well. It makes sense to put Moody, who boxes out, plays hard on every play, shoots better, or if not shooting better, at least does everything else better. I wouldn't mind having Pods in the C3 role, starting out with Steph. I just think Pods is such a big plus. It makes no sense not to play him more. He's just giving us so much. And Steph, Steph is great and stuff. He's going to start because he's Steph, it's his team. But there's some nights, man, where that guy I just get so frustrated with him that I wouldn't mind Coach just sitting him down just to kind of I think Kerr just really needs to I know he's so loyal to these guys, but I think this is enough games now to just be hey, it's a changing of the guard, and what used to work doesn't work anymore, and the league's a lot younger, and yada, 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 and that's what I think. Thanks for having me on.
No, appreciate that, Eddie. Look, I think we're all trying to figure this thing out, and 888-957-9570 is the number, also the number for the Comcast Business text line. I see you on YouTube. I appreciate everyone tuning into Warriors Wrap Up. My name is Evan Giddings, and this is kind of where, again, I think the ejection and more importantly, the probable suspension hurts even more from Draymond, because you're now looking at a situation where you may be out on Draymond completely. This night might have done it for you. You might have been out on him years ago. I don't know. However you feel about him is how you feel. But this is how I feel. The Warriors are going to suffer if he misses games, because they are 2-6 in which he has been either suspended or ejected. Now, if they overcome that and the Warriors play well in however many games that he misses, I'll be happy to see that. And that might be something else to take receipts from. But in the meantime, the Warriors also can't really figure out what their lineup or rotation is going forward if we're talking about them being at full health, because Draymond may or may not be their second best player, may or may not be their third best player. And if he's not there, you don't know what they're going to look like. And so Steve Kerr is going to have to puzzle piece this together, kind of like he did tonight, and just throwing stuff at the wall and seeing if it sticks. Now, I think this was a different version of throwing stuff at a wall and seeing if it sticks compared to, say, the Portland win last week, in which I think he turned to Jonathan Kuminga, who was inexplicably out of the rotation because he had to, because everyone else was playing so badly. But here today, it was clear from the jump that the second unit was ready to go and the starters were not. And one thing that I wrote down at kind of before the game as far as questions, we're talking about this on Warriors Live. The Warriors have been in now 19 games in which have been decided by 5 points or less in the final 5 minutes. That's 19 clutch time games that they've been involved in of their 23, and they are now 9-10. So they've been going down the stretch of games, and they've been close with everyone. I think Draymond Green has to be in that finishing lineup, because on this team, I don't know who else I trust to anchor that 4 or 5 spot defensively outside of Dre. He's not going to be there now. So we don't know what these rotations are inevitably going to turn into once he returns. And I don't think the Warriors are also in a place where they can internally reprimand him by not playing him or even suspending him, which they haven't done before, because I believe they probably need him now more than ever to be on the floor. And that's why Draymond has been arguably the biggest problem on this team thus far this season, because he hasn't been available. I'm not saying that Draymond Green is washed. I'm not saying he can't play basketball. I believe he's the second best player right now on this team. But this is a team 3 games under 500. And if they're missing their second best player, I have no reason to believe that they're going to be better. I think this makes them worse. And so if we're talking about the starting lineup right now, we're essentially talking about 2 spots being open. Now, if you want me to look at this in a macro view, again, this is how I would break it down. If there's someone that needs to go to the bench, I believe it's Andrew Wiggins. I know people have called for Klay Thompson. I know people have called for Kevon Looney, but Kevon Looney, in my mind, doesn't necessarily represent the starter in that sort of sense because he doesn't finish games either. Wiggins is a guy that should be able to help you because he gives you something ideally defensively, but I haven't seen that this year. And that's something that I think we've been confusing and maybe have been marred a bit with how he played before, well, not even before he missed time last year, but you got to go all the way back to the finals of 2022. The player of that finals is no longer the player that the Warriors are getting night in and night out. And unless Steve Kerr believes that he can extract that player and do it pretty quickly, I do think there needs to be a discussion about him not being in the starting lineup. We haven't seen Andrew Wiggins be in the closing lineup enough for me to trust him for a full 48. And so these are the kinds of decisions that Steve Kerr is going to have to weigh, along with the fact that it's not like there isn't someone behind Wiggins or even Klay or Looney that hasn't been able to push them. Moody, 24 minutes tonight. I thought he was good. Now, he played mostly with the starters in that third quarter after Draymond Green got ejected, in which he ends up with a minus 15. I don't think the plus-minus reflects his night. I thought he was good. I thought Jonathan Kuminga. Now, he did have a couple of Jonathan Kuminga moments in which he tries to go one-on-one or a couple of mistakes, but I respect the fact that Steve Kerr let him play through that. He ended up missing 4 free throws tonight. That ends up hurting you. But he was active on the glass. I thought he was active in transition. He wasn't afraid to challenge the Phoenix Suns. And this is the first time in the last couple of weeks that I can recall the Warriors being a team that outscored an opponent in the paint. And Kuminga is a big reason for that because he puts pressure on the rim. And he's a part of an ensemble cast that right now is outplaying its predecessors, that is outplaying the starting lineup. And tonight in the Steve Kerr era, I don't know I have ever seen a game in which unintentionally the bench outscored the starters 80 points to 36. That is unbelievable, and it's inexcusable from 4 members of the starting 5. I'm not saying Klay is exempt from this. He was 2 of 10, 1 of 8 from 3. He took a couple of really bad shots, including, by the way, one in the end of the first half in which for the first time I have seen Steph Curry this season visibly kick a chair. I don't know if it was because of Klay or because of the way they ended the half, but that couldn't help. Klay Thompson, 4-second separation, shot clock and game clock, end of the first half, walks into a three-pointer and hoists with 20 seconds left in the half. That is a bad decision. Whether the shot is good or not does not matter. Klay Thompson is in his 12th year. He's 33 years old. He has to know time and situation. And that's a spot in which he should not be taking that shot. And he did it. And as a result of that, away with the end of the first half, after going on a 15-2 run, the Suns essentially make it up in a second when the starters come back in. It causes Curry to kick the bench. I have not seen that from Steph this season. Adam's out in Oakland. Wants to talk about the Golden State Warriors. What's up, Adam? You're with Evan on Warriors Wrap Up here on 95.7 The Game. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, Evan, man? I appreciate the time. Appreciate the space to talk about the game. I thought it was really interesting, though, man, because if you didn't see anything about the rest of the season and you just saw this one game, it really, it reflects, it gave us everything that was involved in the season. It gave us bad play by Wiggs. It gave us bad play by Klay, Klay pressing, unable to kind of deliver the usual percentage that he usually does from three-point land. We got Draymond being ejected, and we got the young boys playing well. Like, that was a reflection of the entire season in one game. And from, in terms of the starters, it's hard for me to see that we can still get to a championship without the starters, kind of coming around and getting there. But I just don't know how we get there. I mean, in looking at the game in particular, I saw, Klay really not closing out, really being kind of lackadaisical on defense, where you see that the young boys are flying around, man. Like, they're flying around, and even when they're still making some bad decisions here and there that you see, you got to live with that because they're young, but they're flying around, and that makes up for it. I just don't know how we get to a championship without, some of the vets coming to a place where they're really delivering. And so it just kind of bring that to conclusion. What I think was interesting over the last year when we saw their last championship, that they really, the vets didn't play that many games overall. We had a lot of injuries. You had Curry was out for a lot of the season. They had that big win streak, and with the young guys that on home, and that was last year too. And we're seeing Steph play less and less games each year. Like, over the past, I don't know, since 2016, 2017, he's only played 60 some odd games at the most. And so we've got to figure out how they can win the season with these young guys and get the vets ready to ramp up for the playoffs. So that's kind of my thought. I'd be happy to hear your thoughts on that.
No, I think that's a good call. And look, the vets, I think, because of what they've done in the past, do give the Warriors, at least at the beginning of the season, I felt like, and I still do. If those guys play at their peak to their potential, then they do give the Warriors the best chance to win a championship. The question is that going to happen? And do you realistically see Klay, Wiggins, Dre, Looney resuming the role along with Stephen Curry as the best five-man lineup in the NBA? Because, again, entering the night, they were 30th in terms of net rating. They were dead last as far as starting five-man lineups, and that's pretty indicting. It's time to get to extending the three-point line, brought to you by West Coast Men's Health, successfully training men for ED and chronic pain. Visit westcoastmenshealth.com. Here's our call extending the three-point line.
Draymond on the break, stops, looks for a trailer. It's Wiggins. He'll step into a deep three. It's off the front rim. Looney offensive rebound. The cutter, Wiggins, touch pass. Curry lets it fly. Three ball, right corner pocket for Steph. And it's back down to a one-point game.
That was Tim Roy on the call, as he is for every Warriors game here on 95.7 The Game, your home for Golden State Warriors basketball. I want to sneak in a call before we got to get out of here. Let's go out to Leo in San Francisco. Wants to talk about the lineups. What's up, Leo?
Hey, how you doing? Obviously disappointed with the Draymond situation, but obviously, I think he's probably going to get suspended. 7 games, maybe 10. Who knows? But I think obviously as a result of that, Looney's going to have to start. I think they can't afford to be. They need somebody who can rebound, play some defense. He's pretty good at helping. Sort of playing that role of running that offense, setting screens. But the question, I thought Klay played better tonight with that second group, with Saric and with Chris Paul. I think Saric takes some pressure off of him because Saric really obviously can hit that three. I think Klay's going to get some better looks when he's playing with Saric, and I think also Chris is going to be able to set him up for better shots. I think he's taking some tough shots and some contested shots, and he's pressing. But I think we can get some open shots, some open looks, maybe move in a little bit and get some mid range and get himself going, then move out to that three. So I'd like to see him. At second team, and then it's just obviously if Looney's starting, then it's a toss up between whether it's Moody or Kuminga starting in place of Dre. Maybe Kuminga just to try to get him going a little bit. Get him into the game with his energy. I think Moody's better coming off the bench, and Moody I think is probably more in terms of his less up and down in terms of just not getting too high or too low. And I think it'd be good to maybe give Kuminga a shot at the starting lineup. But obviously they're going to have to make some changes with Dre going out. But I'd like to see that lineup and a little more experimentation to see what we got going here.
Thanks, Leo. I mean, look, I think these are all questions that Steve Kerr is going to have to weigh, and he's got 2 days to do it because the Los Angeles Clippers are going to be hosting the Golden State Warriors, a place that they blew a 22-point lead last weekend. So, look, I mean, the Warriors right now are in a situation where they are not going to be able to, and I know people have brought up the idea of playoffs and the championships. To me right now, it is all once again because of Draymond Green about treading water and staying as close as you can to 500 because this schedule right now gets a little bit easier for the Warriors after the conclusion of the next 2 out of 3 on the road. Even a couple of those games are going to be winnable games. The Clippers on Thursday, that's going to be a 7:30 tip from L.A. We're going to have Warriors Live for you here right on 95.7 The Game beginning at 6:30. But I encourage all of you to listen in to everything that the Morning Roast has to say at 6 a.m. I know Joe Spadoni's going to be in for Butcher with Bonte Hill, who is back. They got Nick Bosa at 6:30 to talk some 49ers before they get into the Warriors. Then Steiny and Guru from 10 to 2. And, of course, Wilder and Dibbs from 2 to 6 on a Warriors Wednesday on 95.7 The Game. So we're going to be trying to wrestle this thing and figure it out together. So I encourage all of those of you that are listening here on the Odyssey app, that are listening on your radio dials, that are watching on YouTube. We appreciate you tuning in. And, I mean, the Warriors, one thing they are not is disinteresting. And unfortunately for this season, it has been for seemingly the wrong reasons. But they fall to 10-3 tonight against the Phoenix Suns. And they're going to be looking for some answers heading into Thursday against the Clippers. So we appreciate you tuning into this version of Warriors Wrap-Up. A big thank you to our network coordinator, Sterling Bennett, to our big help in the back, Chris O'Connell, doing a fantastic job manning things down here. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long from the 95.7 The Game studios, where the Warriors fall to the Phoenix Suns. Final score 119-116, and the Warriors have lost 6 straight road games and are in search of answers. We'll try and have some for you tomorrow on 95.7 The Game. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your night. We appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you next time.
He's the best interview in the Bay Area.